And this idea is not necessarily a new one. The real headline in the report from the Financial Times from overnight was the size of the stake, the 5%. We've previously reported, and other outlets have too, that the AI companies, especially OpenAI, have floated this idea of giving the government a piece of their business, giving them shares to seed what would be a public benefit fund, to redistribute some of the gains from the AI boom and maybe address some of the concerns that all of this newfound wealth and economic dislocation brought by the technology, that could somehow be softened. The blow from the AI rollout could be minimized by sharing the gains a little bit through this vehicle. And the administration has talked about this a little bit. President Donald Trump embraced the idea when asked by our own Anne-Marie Hordern last month on Air Force One, but the president offered no specifics beyond just saying that he had been in talks with some industry officials, and it's unclear whether negotiations are really active or advancing between the government and the company. It seems more right now that this is something the company is really trying to work out ahead of its IPO to come up with what the size of a stake could look like. What they're also envisioning is having other AI labs, such as Anthropic or Google's DeepMind, also offer stakes to the government. Now, whether those companies would share the same enthusiasm that Sam Altman has for it is unclear.
Giving away a 5% stake or selling a 5% stake?
Well, Paul, that is a great question, because we can think back to almost a year ago when the U.S. used the CHIPS Act money that it had set aside for Intel to actually purchase a stake in the chip maker. This would be different. The companies would actually give the stake as seed money for this public benefit fund. Bernie Sanders, the Vermont Independent, has proposed a similar idea. He has called for actually creating this kind of a public benefit fund to be seeded with a 50% tax on the stock of these companies, a one-time tax. All those proceeds would go into this fund to then be redistributed with the American public. Republicans have rejected the idea, and even President Donald Trump, when asked specifically about the Sanders proposal, simply said, I had the idea first. And the size of what Bernie Sanders is asking for is far different from what we're seeing, at least through the Financial Times report, of a 5% stake.
All right, so we'll continue to watch that space to see how things develop there. The other story we wanted to touch on with you, Michael, has to do with Apple looking to buy memory chips from China, which is interesting given that the companies being proposed here are on a blacklist, a Pentagon blacklist of Chinese entities that are believed to have ties to China's military. But Apple kind of always feels like it's in its own category.
Well, it does. And again, this is something else that's another bit of fallout from the AI boom. There is this unprecedented demand for memory to meet the needs of artificial intelligence, and that is putting the squeeze on makers of consumer electronics devices. Apple, of course, most prominently, but also Microsoft. And those companies have had to raise prices across their product lines because of the increased expense for the memory components that they put into the products that they make. Now, what Apple is hoping to do is add to its supply lines when it comes to memory. And right now they turn to Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix and Micron Technology for their memory needs, but their memory needs right now are insatiable. And those memory providers have been really trying to reorient some of their production lines to meet the AI demand. So what Apple is proposing to do is turn to CXMT and YMTC, two Chinese chip makers that specialize in memory, but that are also on a Pentagon blacklist because the U.S. believes they support China's military. And that really creates a political problem here for Apple. The company doesn't need permission from the government per se, say an export license or import license, to use this technology. Our reporting shows that Apple plans to use the memory it will buy from these two Chinese makers to go into products to be sold into China. So you would think, well, maybe that's not such a big deal. But the question really is, how would it go down here in Washington. And many of the national security hawks, including the head of the House Foreign Relations Committee, yesterday responded to our report saying that this, from his view, would be a no-go.
Well, that's why Tim Cook has remained at the company in large part to deal with some of these issues with governments. And where's President Trump on this? Because presumably if Tim Cook can get President Trump to sign off, then all is good.
Well, Tim Cook has had that long-standing relationship with the president, who refers to him jokingly and even lovingly as Tim Apple. And this relationship dates all the way back to the president's first term in office. And the question is, though, will there be a counter-lobbying campaign by Micron, which really would not want to see Chinese chip makers perhaps taking some of their potential business away? And earlier this week, it did not go unnoticed that Micron made a $250 million pledge to the Trump Accounts Initiative, the one that also is backed by Dell Computers founder Michael Dell. So we're seeing a lot of lobbying cross currents on this, Paul. And it'll be interesting to see who gets to Trump and what ultimately he will have to say when it comes to giving some political cover to Apple and other device makers that might want this Chinese memory.